6:11 p.m. on July 13, 2024 in Butler, Pennsylvania. Former President Donald Trump is standing at the podium of a packed outdoor rally, just minutes into his speech to thousands of supporters. The sun is beating down on the sweltering crowd as Trump points to a chart showing border crossing statistics. He has no idea that 400 feet away, on a rooftop overlooking the venue, a 20-year-old gunman has him in the crosshairs of an AR-15 rifle. In the next few seconds, shots will ring out across the rally grounds. One bullet will graze Trump's ear, coming within millimeters of ending his life. The first assassination attempt on a former US president in over 4 decades is about to unfold in front of thousands of witnesses and live television cameras. Here is how it unfolded. By the time this video is published, the investigation is still ongoing, and many questions remain unanswered. But what we know about this assassination attempt reveals a catastrophic failure of security protocols that allowed a gunman to position himself with a clear shot at a former president. The images of Trump, bloodied but defiant with his fist raised, will become some of the most iconic photographs in American political history. It's a typical summer evening in western Pennsylvania. The temperature hovers around 85 degrees Fahrenheit as supporters begin gathering hours before the scheduled 6 p.m. start time. Butler County, located about 35 miles north of Pittsburgh, is deep Trump country, a working-class area where the former president won by overwhelming margins in both 2016 and 2020. The Butler Farm Show grounds provide an expansive outdoor venue for the rally. A large stage sits at the southern end of the grounds, with massive video screens flanking both sides so the crowd can see Trump's presentation. Behind the stage, 3 large industrial buildings create a backdrop, their flat rooftops providing elevated positions that will prove crucial to both the attack and the response. Trump's advance team has been planning this rally for weeks. Pennsylvania is one of the most important swing states in the 2024 election, and Butler represents the kind of blue-collar constituency that forms Trump's base. The timing is significant, just 2 days before the Republican National Convention, where Trump will officially accept his party's nomination for the 3rd consecutive time. Security arrangements for the event involve multiple agencies working in coordination. The US Secret Service takes the lead, responsible for Trump's personal protection and the immediate area around the stage. Local law enforcement agencies, including the Butler County Sheriff's Office and Pennsylvania State Police, handle crowd control and perimeter security. Counter-sniper teams are positioned on the rooftops of the buildings behind the stage, their high-powered rifles equipped with advanced optics to scan for threats across the venue. These elite marksmen represent the last line of defense against any attack from a distance. Radio communications crackle constantly between the various security teams as they coordinate their coverage of the massive crowd. The crowd begins filling in hours before Trump's arrival. Supporters wearing red Make America Great Again hats and carrying homemade signs stream through security checkpoints equipped with metal detectors. The atmosphere is festive, with vendors selling merchandise and families claiming spots on the bleachers that extend to the left and right of the main stage area. Take a look at what happened in the hours before the shooting. At approximately 5 p.m, local law enforcement officers notice a suspicious individual near the perimeter of the rally grounds. The man appears to be conducting surveillance of the security arrangements, moving between different vantage points and observing the positions of law enforcement personnel. This individual is later identified as Thomas Matthew Crooks, a 20-year-old resident of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, located about 50 miles south of Butler. Crooks has no criminal history and no known connection to any extremist groups. He works as a dietary aide at a local nursing home and still lives with his parents in a middle-class suburban neighborhood. What makes Crooks particularly dangerous is his familiarity with firearms and his methodical approach to planning the attack. He holds a membership at a local shooting club where he's been practicing regularly with rifles for several years. His father legally purchased the AR-15 rifle that Crooks will use in the attack, along with ammunition and accessories. By 5:30 p.m, Crooks has positioned himself near the AGR International Building, a manufacturing facility located approximately 400 feet north of the rally stage. The single-story building has a flat roof that provides an elevated shooting position with a clear line of sight to the stage area. Crucially, this building falls outside the immediate security perimeter controlled by the Secret Service. Local law enforcement has been assigned responsibility for securing the buildings in this outer perimeter, but communication breakdowns and jurisdictional confusion create gaps in coverage. Officers report seeing Crooks in the area and identify him as a person of interest, but this information doesn't reach the Secret Service counter-sniper teams or Trump's personal protection detail in time. At 6 p.m, Trump's motorcade arrives at the Butler Farm Show grounds to thunderous cheers from the crowd. The former president, wearing a signature red tie and blue suit, waves to supporters as he makes his way to the stage. His security detail maintains a tight formation around him, their eyes constantly scanning for threats in the crowd. Trump begins his speech at 6:11 p.m. with his characteristic energy and enthusiasm. "Hello, Butler, and hello to Pennsylvania," he declares to roars of approval from the crowd. The speech follows his typical format, attacking his political opponents, highlighting his achievements as president, and promising to make America great again if re-elected. The crowd is estimated at between 8,000 and 10,000 people, packed into the outdoor venue under the hot summer sun. Many supporters have been waiting for hours in the heat, but their energy remains high as Trump delivers his familiar talking points about immigration, the economy, and what he describes as the weaponization of the justice system against him. Meanwhile, Crooks has successfully accessed the roof of the AGR building. How he managed to climb onto the roof with a rifle remains under investigation, but witnesses later report seeing him moving across the rooftop in the minutes before the shooting. Some rallygoers noticed the suspicious figure and attempt to alert law enforcement, pointing toward the building and shouting warnings. At 6:11 p.m, approximately 11 minutes into Trump's speech, Crooks takes his position on the roof, armed with his father's AR-15 rifle, equipped with a collapsible stock and iron sights. He has a clear view of Trump at the podium 400 feet away. The distance is well within the effective range of the weapon, and Crooks' shooting club training has prepared him for this moment. Trump is in the middle of discussing border security statistics, turning to his right to point a chart displayed on the large video screen. This movement, turning his head to the side, will prove crucial to his survival in the next few seconds. Had he been facing directly forward, the trajectory of the bullets would likely have been fatal. At 6:11:33 p.m, Crooks opens fire. The first shot rings out across the rally grounds, its sharp crack clearly audible above the crowd noise. Trump immediately reaches up to his right ear, where the bullet has grazed him, tearing through the upper portion of his ear and causing immediate bleeding. "Get down! Get down!" Secret Service agents shout as they immediately recognize the sound of gunfire. Trump instinctively ducks behind the podium as agents rush toward the stage. The crowd's cheers turn to screams of confusion and panic as people realize what's happening. Crooks continues firing, unleashing a total of 8 rounds in rapid succession. The shots are aimed at Trump's position behind the podium, but the former president is now protected by the armored podium structure and the bodies of Secret Service agents who have swarmed around him. Take a look at what happened in those crucial seconds. The Secret Service counter-sniper teams positioned on the buildings behind the stage immediately begin scanning for the source of the gunfire. One team spots muzzle flashes from the AGR building and quickly identifies Crooks' position on the rooftop. While Trump remains covered behind the podium, Crooks' shots find other targets in the crowd. 50-year-old Corey Comparatore, a volunteer fire chief attending the rally with his family, is struck by one of the bullets and killed instantly. 2 other spectators, David Dutch and James Copenhaver, are critically wounded and will require emergency surgery. The counter-sniper team has Crooks in their crosshairs within seconds of identifying his position. At 6:11:42 p.m, approximately 9 seconds after the first shot, the Secret Service sniper fires a single .300 Winchester Magnum round that strikes Crooks in the head, killing him instantly. The threat is neutralized, but the damage has already been done. Trump's microphone remains active throughout the attack, capturing the tense exchanges between Secret Service agents as they assess the situation and plan their next moves. Shooters down, one agent reports over the radio. Are we good to move? Are we clear? The agents form a protective circle around Trump, who is bleeding from his ear wound but remains conscious and alert. "Let me get my shoes," Trump says, apparently having lost his shoes in the initial scramble to the ground. "I got you, sir. I got you, sir," an agent responds, helping the former president to his feet. Medical personnel immediately treat Trump's ear wound, applying pressure to stop the bleeding. While the injury appears dramatic due to the amount of blood, it's relatively minor. The bullet grazed the top of his ear without causing permanent damage or affecting his hearing. At 6:12:48 p.m, Approximately 75 seconds after the first shot, Trump rises from behind the podium with his fist raised defiantly in the air. His face is streaked with blood, but his expression is one of determination rather than fear. "Fight! Fight! Fight!" he mouths to the crowd, his words clearly visible to the television cameras broadcasting the event live. The image of the bloodied but unbowed Trump, fist raised against the backdrop of the American flag, instantly becomes one of the most powerful political photographs in modern history. The symbolism is unmistakable: a leader under attack but refusing to be defeated, embodying the fighting spirit he has cultivated throughout his political career. Secret Service agents quickly escort Trump off the stage and into an armoured vehicle for transport to a secure location. The crowd, initially panicked by the gunfire, begins chanting, "USA! USA!" as they realise their candidate has survived the assassination attempt. The rally ends abruptly as law enforcement secures the scene and begins their investigation. Trump is taken to Butler Memorial Hospital for evaluation and treatment of his ear wound. Medical personnel clean and bandage the injury, but no surgery is required. X-rays confirm that no bullet fragments remain in the wound, and Trump's vital signs remain stable throughout the examination. Within hours of the shooting, Trump issues a statement on his Truth Social platform thanking law enforcement and expressing condolences for the victims. "I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear," he writes. "Much bleeding took place, so I realised then what was happening." The investigation into the assassination attempt begins immediately, with the FBI taking the lead role. Agents secure Crook's body and begin processing the crime scene on the AGR building rooftop. They recover the AR-15 rifle, spent cartridge cases, and other evidence that will help reconstruct the events leading up to the shooting. A search of Crook's vehicle in the rally parking lot reveals additional concerning items. Investigators find a remote detonator and what appears to be an improvised explosive device, suggesting that Crooks may have planned a larger attack beyond the shooting. The device is safely rendered inert by bomb disposal experts. 19. Crooks' home in Bethel Park is also searched, where investigators discover bomb-making materials and additional firearms. His computer and cell phone are seized for forensic analysis to determine his motive and whether he had any accomplices or inspiration from online sources. The motive for Crook's attack remains unclear even as the investigation continues. He has no apparent political manifesto, no social media presence expressing extremist views, and no history of violence or threats against public officials. His voter registration shows him as a Republican, but he also made a small donation to a Democratic voter turnout organisation in 2021. Interviews with family members, friends and co-workers reveal Crooks as a quiet, unremarkable individual who showed no obvious signs of radicalisation or violent tendencies. He was described as intelligent but socially awkward, with few close friends and no romantic relationships. His interest in firearms was well known, but not considered unusual in rural Pennsylvania. The security failures that allowed Crooks to position himself on the rooftop become the subject of intense scrutiny and congressional investigation. How did a gunman manage to access an elevated position with a clear shot at a former president? Why wasn't the AGR building included in the Secret Service security perimeter? Initial reports suggest that local law enforcement was responsible for securing the building, but failed to maintain adequate surveillance of the rooftop. Communication gaps between different agencies may have prevented critical information about Crook's suspicious behaviour from reaching the appropriate personnel in time to prevent the attack. The counter-sniper team's performance receives both praise and criticism. While they successfully neutralised Crooks within seconds of identifying his position, questions remain about why they didn't detect him earlier. Some analysts suggest that the snipers were focused on scanning for threats at greater distances and may not have been monitoring the closer buildings as carefully. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle faces immediate calls for her resignation from Republican lawmakers who argue that the agency's failure to prevent the attack represents an unacceptable breach of security protocols. The incident marks the most serious assassination attempt on a president or former president since John Hinckley Jr. shot Ronald Reagan in 1981. The political implications of the assassination attempt are immediately apparent. Trump and his supporters frame the attack as evidence of the violent rhetoric and weaponization they claim has been directed against him by his political opponents. The dramatic images of Trump surviving the attack and defiantly raising his fist are quickly incorporated into campaign materials. President Joe Biden condemns the attack and calls for unity in the face of political violence. "There's no place in America for this kind of violence," Biden states. "It's sick. It's sick." He orders a review of security protocols for all major presidential candidates and temporarily increases Secret Service protection for both campaigns. The shooting occurs just 2 days before the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, where Trump is scheduled to formally accept his party's nomination for president. Initially, there is speculation that Trump might cancel his appearance or that the convention might be postponed, but Trump quickly announces that he will proceed as planned. Trump's speech at the Republican National Convention becomes one of the most anticipated political addresses in recent memory. Wearing a large bandage over his injured ear, he receives a thunderous ovation from delegates who see him as having literally taken a bullet for the movement. The assassination attempt becomes a central theme of his campaign narrative. The incident also raises broader questions about the security of political figures in an increasingly polarized nation. The ease with which Crooks was able to plan and nearly execute his attack demonstrates the ongoing vulnerability of public officials to determined individuals with firearms training and access to weapons. Experts note that the outdoor venue, while popular for political rallies due to their capacity and visual appeal, presents significant security challenges. Unlike indoor venues, where access can be more easily controlled, outdoor events require securing much larger perimeters and dealing with numerous potential shooting positions in surrounding buildings. The assassination attempt joins a long list of attacks and attempted attacks on American political leaders, from the successful assassinations of Lincoln, Garfield, McKinley, and Kennedy to the attempted killings of Reagan, Ford, and others. Each incident has led to changes in security protocols, but the balance between public accessibility and protection remains a constant challenge. The impact on Trump's family is immediate and profound. His wife Melania, who rarely appears at campaign events, releases a statement calling for national unity and reflecting on how close she came to losing her husband. His children, who are active in his campaign, express their relief and gratitude that their father survived. The rally attendees who witnessed the shooting describe a range of emotions: initial confusion, then terror as they realized what was happening, followed by relief and anger as Trump emerged, bloodied but alive. Many report that the experience has strengthened their support for Trump and their belief that he is being unfairly targeted by his opponents. Corey Comparatore, the volunteer fire chief killed in the attack, becomes a symbol of the innocent victims of political violence. His family receives an outpouring of support from across the political spectrum, with both Trump and Biden attending his funeral and honouring his service to his community. The two wounded spectators, David Dutch and James Copenhaver, undergo emergency surgery and eventually recover from their injuries. Their medical bills are covered by donations from Trump supporters, and they become frequent guests at subsequent campaign events as symbols of the dangers faced by ordinary Americans who attend political rallies. The Secret Service begins implementing immediate changes to its security protocols in response to the assassination attempt. Counter-sniper teams receive enhanced training and equipment, and procedures for securing outdoor venues are thoroughly reviewed and updated. Congressional hearings examine the security failures that allowed Crooks to position himself on the rooftop. Lawmakers from both parties demand accountability and reforms to prevent similar incidents in the future. The hearings reveal communication breakdowns, inadequate coordination between agencies, and resource constraints that contributed to the security gaps. The FBI's investigation continues for months, examining every aspect of Crooks' life and planning for the attack. Despite extensive investigation, no clear motive emerges beyond what appears to be a desire for notoriety and a place in history. The case becomes a study in how individuals with no apparent political motivation can still pose deadly threats to public figures. The assassination attempt fundamentally changes the dynamic of the 2024 presidential campaign. Trump's survival and defiant response galvanize his supporters, while putting his opponents in the difficult position of criticizing someone who has just been the victim of an assassination attempt. The images from Butler become some of the most recognizable political imagery of the modern era. Security experts use the incident as a case study in the challenges of protecting public figures in the modern era. The combination of easily accessible high-powered weapons, detailed information about political events available online, and the proliferation of potential shooting positions in urban and suburban environments creates a threat environment unlike any in previous generations. The psychological impact on Trump himself becomes a subject of speculation and analysis. While he appears to handle the immediate aftermath with characteristic bravado, the near-death experience inevitably affects his worldview and approach to campaigning. Some observers note increased references to divine protection and destiny in his subsequent speeches. The assassination attempt also highlights the role of social media and instant communication in shaping public perception of major events. Within minutes of the shooting, video footage from attendees' cell phones is circulating online, providing multiple angles and perspectives that help investigators reconstruct the event and the public understand what happened. The incident raises new questions about the adequacy of current laws regarding threats against public officials and the accessibility of firearms to individuals who may pose risks to political figures. Some lawmakers call for enhanced background check systems and increased penalties for planning attacks against political leaders, while others resist any changes to gun laws. The mapping of the assassination attempt on Donald Trump reveals a complex convergence of security failures, individual radicalization, and political polarization that created the conditions for this near-catastrophic event. The split-second timing that saved Trump's life, his decision to turn his head to look at a chart at the exact moment the first shot was fired, underscores how close America came to experiencing another political assassination. The images of Trump rising from behind the podium, bloodied but defiant, with his fist raised in triumph, will likely define not just his 2024 campaign but his entire political legacy. The assassination attempt transformed what might have been just another campaign rally into a moment that crystallized the intense emotions and deep divisions that characterize American politics in the 21st century. Whether the shooting will ultimately help or hurt Trump's electoral chances remains to be seen, but there is no question that it has fundamentally altered the landscape of American politics. The incident serves as a stark reminder that in a democracy, the line between political opposition and political violence must never be crossed, and that protecting our leaders, regardless of party, is essential to preserving our democratic institutions. The investigation continues, the security protocols are being revised, and the political ramifications are still unfolding. But one thing is certain: the events of July 13th, 2024 in Butler, Pennsylvania, will be remembered as one of the most consequential moments in modern American political history. The day a former president came within millimeters of death and emerged as a symbol of defiance that will resonate for generations to come.